What is going on YouTube? This is Acid. So I'm going to review the debut album by producer Mannie Fresh. Basically, this product is called The Mind of Mannie Fresh, and it came out in the late fall of 2004. So the thing about this particular product is just the fact that this is kind of like a pseudo Big Timers album, I would say. I mean, Birdman's not on there as full blown. Birdman's not really on this album that much. Lil Wayne's on here a number of times, but this is really just a Mannie Fresh solo affair. But the production fair and the overall composition of this particular album is very similar to like Big Timers Hood Rich album from 2002 and Big Money Heavyweight from 2003. This might as well be like the spiritual successor to Big. This might as well be like the spiritual successor to Big Timers as far as pitches like that kind of happen. It's basically a pretty good concept. But then 6 months later, after this album came out, you got the Fast Money album by Birdman, which was another pseudo type one that was pretty similar to Big Timers, I'd say. So it's just a good concept here. It's too bad that Mannie Fresh wound up leaving Cash Money as far as pitches like that kind of happen. I look after the appeal behind it. This really had some good affluence about it, but I just would have to say Lil Wayne is on here a number of times. He doesn't really drop verses on this particular project, at least on Mannie Fresh solo songs, but he does help out with like some background vocals, and he does do like some songs, like some skits as far as that kind of happens. This album is particularly large, has 30 songs on here, but 15 of them are skits as far as that kind of goes. So there's 15 songs on here, and I just would have to say the concept of it is just the territory that there's some good moments on here, but it feels somewhat hodgepodge just in like the delivery, how it happens. I feel like Mannie Fresh is kind of more of like a kind of tycoon of more of an artist, more so than like, I mean, obviously him not being like a shredding kind of lyricist, someone like you'd expect from like Juvenile, Lil Wayne, some of those type folks, or like other folks like the standard lyricist Ludacris, some of those Southern rappers, Rick Ross, some of those type folks I'd have to say. But he does have some quality entertainment. He's basically like a producer type version of Ludacris. He has like some good humor on this particular project. He's a little bit more lackadaisical, somewhere in between like Afro Man and Ludacris, some of those type folks. Just what I'd say, it's a good concept. Going to get that. Just like the overall appeal. This is a very kind of localized type project here. This is a localized type project. Just the appeal behind it has some of that glitz. I feel like Real Big is at least a good taste of some of that, but it doesn't really try to follow up that particular song that heavily, I'd have to say, which is kind of a disappointment. This very summery, balmy pitches like that. Just the aspect, if you like the vibes of Hood Rich by Big Timers and the Carter One by Lil Wayne, some of those type pitches, just that same sort of concept. Those pool party type music, garage and shop type music type appeal, some of that type fare, just hanging out in your backyard or near a garage, some of those type fares, the standard driveway type music, some of that typeness to kind of get. A lot of hop and bop and residential type fares to kind of have here. It's right on the cusp of being a classic, I'd say. It's definitely a very good project. It may not get like a 10 out of 10, but it's definitely blisteringly good for the most part. I'd say there's a number of ones on here. Mannie Fresh is a pretty excellent producer, so he has a number of quality beats on here, and even some of the songs that are not songs I recommend have some decent productions on there to kind of possibly persuade some folks otherwise. But this is going to get an above average score. So I look after it. The basic concept about it is there were two singles. Now Wikipedia does not really list the second single as much. I mean, it kind of does in Mannie Fresh's discography, but I just would have to say the first single is one that had some decent promotion, but it's kind of a secret song if you don't full blown know rap is as much full time. I'd have to say it's a good concept about it. It's just kind of one. It was a part of video games and pitches like that. It was on like the Midnight Club 3 video games. Pretty nice one. It's real big. This is a real bopish type song. It just feels like something that would be part of like a Fast and Furious soundtrack, something like that. It's a real vehicle centric type one to kind of get here. It's like a classic kind of 2000s stunt music type song to kind of get. I would definitely feel like it's like a garage and shop turn up gem. I would have to say something similar. Big timers like to do shop music, and I don't mean shopping like mall shopping. I mean like shop like garage and kind of more tool shop, garage shop, some of that type stuff, type turn up. Just a good song for that sort of affair, vehicle centric type boundness to kind of get. There's like a glossy and suede beat. I would definitely feel like about this one. Probably one of the best beats off this album. Just a real immediate one to go for. And this song's just some wicked quick times, I'd say. So I do appreciate the concept of it. Just real nice one. This is not a song as is commonly talked about. I mean, I feel like most folks might somewhat know about Mannie Fresh, but you have to kind of dig a little bit to kind of find this one in particular. I'd have to say it's not quite on full blown display. Like if this song had Lil Wayne on here or something like that, I probably would have said it would have been a lot larger of a smash hit. Probably even Birdman in some cases, but Mannie Fresh is just kind of more off to the wayside. I feel like if certain folks kind of know about it, it's just kind of the concept's the same. It's just kind of a little bit more of a seldom type song, but it is worth the investment just to be able to say it. But the unfortunate thing about this particular album is just trying to recommend like the casual type hits on here. I feel like the Real Big song is the biggest casual type hit to kind of get off this particular product. But I would definitely say that there probably are some relative other type ones, especially if you like Hood Rich and songs like Still Fly and some of those type ones, songs like Go DJ by Lil Wayne, Bring It Back by Lil Wayne from like the Carter 1 days. Now, Mannie Fresh was not a part of the Carter 2, but just being able to say if you like the Carter 1, Hood Rich by Big Timers, Big Money Heavyweight by Big Timers, some of those type pitches, this is just another taste of that particular type atmosphere. But the second single that's not as commonly talked about, this single didn't tank, but this single is not a bad song, but it just didn't really do that terrific in terms of like the marketing and appeal that it particularly kind of had in terms of like chart appeal. Second single is Conversation. This one has a chick named Tatis on here. Don't know too much about her, but I look after it. This is just like, this is somewhat of like a gimmick type song, I'd have to say, but it is a nice one to kind of get. It's the sort of song that I think E40 or Afro Man would kind of do, just has some West Coast type vibes about it. I mean, the production doesn't, but it's just kind of a basic, kind of localized type one. It's like around the neighborhood kind of simp music, I'd have to say. Just some real nice simping to kind of get done. Just some real nice simping to kind of get done on songs like this particular one. I'd have to suppose on like a sunny day, I would definitely feel like this reminds me of like Big Timers' Hood Rich days. I would definitely have to suppose, and this is a pretty pleasant song, I just would have to say. Just really like the particular concept of it. This is something I could definitely see like Ludacris doing, like his Chicken and Beer and Red Light District days. That I suppose is basic kind of one is I like the concept of this being amalgamated into a song. This would be a nice one to kind of have just for like some standard type fare. I mean, it just doesn't have the bombastic kind of immediate kind of explosive type appeal of Real Big, I would have to say, but I still appreciate the concept of being able to get this one. This is a more in between type one to kind of get for more house party type affairs and neighborhood romps, pitches like that. Just some good day commerce and this overall vanilla day type summer type music and this simp music in general. Good concepts for that. That particular song, Conversation, is just not a huge casual kind of breadwinner. I'd say it just is not terribly attention grabbing. This is not terribly attention grabbing, I'd have to say, but I look after it. So yeah, out of the 15 songs that are actual songs on here, I would have to say basically I wound up recommending 11, which is a pretty damn good pitch. Damn near on the cusp of just being a complete clean sweep, I would have to say. I look after the four songs. The four songs I don't recommend on here would be basically the four songs I don't recommend on here would be Beautiful Bitch, Nothing. The four songs I don't recommend on here would be Beautiful Bitch, Nothing Compares to Love, I Know You Ain't Happy, and Fight Song. Fight Song in particular just had like some crummy production on there. It was just some of these type ones kind of have abrasive type productions that are just when you first hear them within like the first 5, 10, 15 seconds, they just don't really have that composition or really something. They just kind of feel like less, they feel like more super hardcore just in the sense that you have to really have like a taste to be able to say, in some cases, it's kind of like, well, what's this particular song? You kind of have like the mood as to what the hell is this? Like, I feel like Fight Song kind of has that particular kind of composition. Fight Song is just not terribly attention grabbing. I feel like No You Ain't Happy was just kind of a clumsy type one. It's trying to be like an in between type one, pretty similar to Conversation and Shake That Ass. Some of those type ones just didn't nail it quite as well as it probably needed to, I'd have to say. Then Beautiful Bitch was just another abrasive type one that just didn't really have like a good melodic and kind of conjunction type feel about it. I just would have to say it was just not one that just really was soothing or just the concept of just really something that would be an immediate kind of pick of a song to really just gel with right away, I'd have to say. And it's kind of the same concept. And then Nothing Compares to Love was just kind of a poor type one. This is like a change of pace. This has a different type aspect, not so much like a club or ladies type song. This is a different type pitch, a little bit more real talk and personal type one, but it doesn't really pull out the vibe as well. I mean, I like at least somewhat of the production fare of that particular one, but I don't see how commonly I would listen to that particular song, this kind of thing. But 11 out of 15 is definitely pretty excellent, I'd have to say. So a lot of these on here, like an immediate one that competes with Real Big. I mean, obviously, Real Big is probably the best song on this particular album, but a nice one that at least has some good follow up that could be in like the top 3 or top 4 best songs in that same conversation with Real Big would be Chubby Boy. This is a nice one. This is like a stellar kind of pounding album cut, I would definitely have to say. This is like an electric kind of club splitting vibes that it particularly kind of has, and this goes well with Real Big. Like I was saying, this is a pretty good follow up song to kind of get. And like I said, it's definitely one of the more immediate ones to kind of get here. It just has some of that ferocious, just kind of upstart type energy, kind of a differential topic as far as that particular kind of happens, as far as being called Chubby Boy, just within that aspect. But I do like the concept of this particular pounding type one, just big dog type pitch to kind of get on here, just to be able to have some of that splitting typeness to kind of have. Once again, not as ferocious as Real Big, but definitely within the roundabout type back. It's just a backup song to kind of have for some more good products of songs off this particular album. A pretty nice one on here that I feel like it has a good freneticness about it. That's just a good ladies type song to kind of get for like some torque action and just overall good dance craze. The vibes would be Pussy Powers and a good overall one to kind of get here. It's like a frenetic kind of club jumper. I would definitely feel like this is like some dance club noise. I definitely would have to say is like a basic kind of jump start to kick things off. It's kind of, it is explicit, but I like the concept of this particular one. It's just kind of the concept of just like a frenetic type night to kind of be able to have for like standard Friday night type energy, at least for 2004. Pretty, I mean, it's relatively one of the more gnarled ones on here. I mean, at least Manny Fresh does not get this terribly crazy on this particular album compared to folks like when you think of, it's probably about on like Go DJ type vibes by Lil Wayne, just with a little bit more illicitness about it, I had to say. But this is an uncommon talked about highlight. I would definitely have to suppose off this particular album. Definitely one of the ones that just has more gnarled type energy. But I mean, this particular album is just like a straightforward type one. This is a very vanilla album, I'd have to say, especially in terms of Southern hip hop. I just would look after just being able to suppose. I like this. It's definitely well produced, just with an aspect behind it. It has a few casual bops on here, I'd have to say. But in terms of like something, I realize that Manny Fresh is kind of off to the wayside, especially nowadays, considering this album is 20 years old. But a lot of this, just the energy and just overall the demeanor and just overall like aim that this particular album has is just very vanilla, just in terms of like the ambience and just overall showcase of how it displays itself, I'd have to say. But that's not too much. I'm not going to complain about that particular aspect, but it's just a more vanilla kind of Southern rap album. Now, I would have to say, originally off this album, there was R. Kelly was on this album. Originally off this album, R. Kelly was on this particular project on a song called Lady Lady. Had Lil Wayne and R. Kelly on here. I don't know if Mannie Fresh like altered the song once R. Kelly got arrested and went to prison and stuff, but I question. I don't remember as much what the original song sounded like. These days, some of these revisions have kind of been made, but I know that R. Kelly was originally on the song. So, and Lil Wayne's not really on the song as much. He just kind of helps with like background vocals in the chorus and some pitches like that. But it's like a breezy kind of vintage Big Timers, early 2000s summer do, I would have to say. The original had more R. Kelly, like I was talking about, and this is just like some lazy kind of sunny haze, I would feel like. So this is just kind of a balmy type one. It's really one of those type ones that you get if you really like Big Timers' Is Hood Rich from 2002. Is like a good revisit that particular type of sound. Doesn't lose the edge of that particular vibe from Big Timers. Some of those type pitches, just some good aspects there. A song I remember from back in the day, there was like a program that you could use rap songs to make ringtones. I remember making a ringtone to this particular song, had it on my cell phone. It's a pretty good pitch. It was the song How We Ride. Definitely like the chorus on this particular song. Just really has some good aspects about it. Just like a butter smooth kind of lazy summer cruise music, I would definitely feel like. It's like a softcore kind of stunt bop. I would definitely have to say good concepts for that. It's like a suave and kind of plush swag tune. I definitely would have to suppose this swag circa 2004 as far as that particular kind of goes. And the song dazzles pretty well. I'd say this has some good, real nice buttery hook on here. Has a cat named Jasper that does pretty well with that. Bun B's on the song. David Banner's on the song. So there is some kind of David Banner vocals on here. He helps out with, I want to say, some productions and a couple of like that vocals that he kind of does, that growl that he kind of did on like Cadillac on 22, some of those type pitches. So it's just a good concept for that. That is a good song. We Fresh is a pretty nice one. This is one that kind of has to do with Lil Wayne a bit. Lil Wayne kind of, like I said, he helps out with some of these. It's like a basic kind of hangout noise about this particular one, We Fresh. This is like a smoke a few, this is definitely like a smoke a few, kind of grub a bit, and kind of unwind energy, I would have to say. After like a dredgy day, I would feel like this class was a bitch, work was a bitch, something like that. This unwind type fare, dinner hangout fare with like the pals, and it's like some local summer drear, I would feel like. So yeah, a lot of these songs on here have that localized type feel. I mean, there's some cruise out type songs like How We Ride, Real Big. Real Big's more of a stunt song, but How We Ride, Day in the Life, Cadillac Music, some of those type ones. Some good type of appeal, some hop and bop type ones, like some standard day hop and bop type ones like Conversation, Day in the Life, Tell It Like It Is, and let's say Go With Me. Some of those type bops kind of get good. There's some good concepts kind of overall have, but this is a very, like I said, very vanilla, localized type one, just standard. If 36 Mafia kind of does more nightbound typeness, just more Taco Bell runs and gas station runs, frozen burritos, pizza, some of that type fare, like 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, some of that type fare. This is a lot more just noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, baseball game type music, some of that type fare. Is kind of more standard commerce, just city outing, buy some socks, buy a shirt, something like that, just standard, typical type fanfare. Just get some swishers this in like the heat of the summer days. Just some good concepts. There's very vanilla aspects about this album. I do like the concept of it. T.I. kind of does some of this on like trap music, urban legend, some of those type ones. Yeah, Go With Me is another nice one. This has Birdman on here. It's too bad that Birdman wasn't on this project more, but then it probably would have just seemed more of like a Big Timers album. But this is basically like an outdoor kind of hop and bop, warm day vibes I'd have to say about this one. Definitely some sports game and mingle energy, I would have to say in particular. And this reminds me of like Rubber Band Man, I would definitely feel like. So I think this one has something to do with being produced by David Banner or something like that. Don't know his full blown sure, but just if you like the song Rubber Band Man, some of those type pitches that just kind of have that baseball type appeal, organ type song that just kind of feels like Rubber Band Man. This feels like a Nelly or a Ti song. I'd have to say it's a pretty good concept for that. Shake That Ass is a pretty nice one. It's like a more R&B prone type one. It's like a solid kind of rhythmic squeeze song, and by that I mean main squeeze, something like that. Just a squeeze in particular, just like a boo or a bay on your mind as far as particular pitches like that kind of goes. Like a summer day gauze, I would definitely feel like smooth day hot music, I would have to say. And it has like some mid song has some mid pace kind of radio appeal about it. So I just look after it. This is yet another one that feels just like Hood Rich from Big Timers, a little bit of Big Money Heavyweight. I haven't listened to that particular album in a while, so that's why I don't mention that one as much. Big Money Heavyweight from 2003. I reviewed like Hood Rich by Big Timers a few weeks ago, so that's why I remember that one more. But I just look after some good stuff there. Day in the Life is another nice one. There is some Bill Payne type music on here. A couple of these ones, like I do feel like Conversation, Day in the Life, some of those type ones. A little bit of Tell It Like It Is kind of have that particular type of appeal behind it. But Day in the Life, Cadillac Doors is basically like a summer malaise kind of cruise out, dredgy work shift wrap up. I would definitely feel like just a simple errands day. I would definitely have to say just basic kind of get towards it, get things taken care of, and then kick back. I would definitely say some Wendy's type music. Just get like a 4 for 4 at Wendy's, some of that type of appeal, something like that. And then just smoke one, some of those type pitches as far as that particular kind of goes. Some good aspects kind of have some of that, just basically sunny day type appeal, just some of that, just basically kind of sunny day type appeal, I'd have to say. And then Tell It Like It Is a nice one. Like I was saying, this in between kind of conversation and real big type song and kind of get this is kind of a casual type one, has like the hop and bop kind of day commerce of conversation with a little bit of like that electro kind of club type jostle energy of real big. I'd have to say it's like social wise, it's pretty good for that. It's like a local city stroll type tune I would definitely get here. And this is like a neighborhood romp to kind of have. So it's just more localized type fare, just probably just standard fare, just hitting up the mailbox, the gas station, some of that typeness to get just picking up some swishers, hot dogs, something like that. Just some good concepts kind of get there. Good subway type music, just good concept for that. But yeah, that's a particular aspect about this album. So me basically recommending 11 songs out of 15 on here. Me basically recommending 11 songs out of 15 on here. I'm going to go ahead and give this album like an 8.75 out of 10. I feel like it's really good. Just the concepts behind a lot of this. These songs are pretty pounding. Just the fact that there just were a couple clumsy moments that just didn't deliver as much. I just feel like some of these songs kind of have like abrasive type fare, and I feel like casual wise, this album is just not as heavy hitting. I'd have to say. I realize that Mannie Fresh is not a rapper first and foremost. I mean, he can definitely do it, but it's just kind of the concept that I feel like in terms of like the aspects, I just think the concept of him getting like these singles that were just hits, he can make hits definitely, but in terms of like getting them for himself was just a little bit more different. Just being able to say that real big is definitely the anchor of this particular album. And I had to say probably the closest thing to like a casual hit, probably the second biggest song, or at least let's say at least casual wise, the second biggest song would probably have to be Chubby Boy or Pussy Power, one of those type ones. Just kind of the concept about it. There's just not, there really isn't anything as big as real big, like I've been trying to say. It's just kind of the concept that I think that's kind of why this album came and went back when it came out in late 2004, early 2005, is just because Real Big was a big song and did a lot of good noise and did damage about it, but there just wasn't anything that could back it up afterward. Conversation just kind of fell flat, and then the album, just the promotion kind of wrapped up pretty quickly. So it's just kind of constant. Has some good songs for ladies on here, has some summer energy, some of that type fare, but just didn't have like Lil Wayne was able to back up the Carter One with Bring It Back, Go DJ, the song he did. I forget that third single that had the ladies on there. I forget the third single off of the Carter, but there was at least 3 singles off the Carter. Just pitches like that. I just feel like it has the good songs, but this in terms of like the marketing towards like the public relation factor of getting something that could be like the next radio hit, it just didn't really deliver on that. But it's just that's the main drawback. It's the main drawback point about this album. So 8.75 score. The social score as a result, I'm gonna give the social score like a 7.25 out of 10. I mean, it definitely has the gems on here. It has some summer energy, just pitches like that, some good garage shop type music, some good summer energy, just pick up some burritos, some pizza, some of that type of day stroll type music, get some Subway, smoking like the summer, ladies, hop and bop, residential type commerce as far as that particular kind of goes. Just summer outing, baseball game type energy, some of that typeness kind of get. Just centered, hot, happy, go lucky, plucky type fare as far as that would particularly going to happen. But I just look after it. And I just feel like for casual, more markets, it just doesn't have the overall aspect. You have to kind of know a little bit more about it. I mean, it's not to have a problem with that in particular, but it's just kind of the concept in terms like something that most people, in a lot of senses, especially 20 years later, would be able to say, okay, well, where are the heavy hitters? What's the next biggest song after Real Big? Just the 4 or 5 minutes are real big as far as that being like a quality song. What's the next one as far as following it up? I feel like at least Pussy Power and Chubby Boy kind of do that as well, but they're not radio staples. That's this kind of thing. But it does have some relative kind of appeal, but it's just kind of more, I would pretty much have to say, in like a hardcore market. This kind of thing. But in terms of the future, like Mannie Fresh dropped an album in 2009, so he does have a follow up album. It's a different aspect, just comparing going from like the early 2000s to like the late 2000s. There are some more big timers projects I want to get to, so we're definitely going to get to some more of those as far as pitches like that can happen. Manny Fresh just doesn't pop up as much as a producer nowadays, I'd have to say, but he is kind of here and there on the occasion. So we'll just have to see about this. But this is definitely an above average debut record here. Definitely has some good bops on here. Just be able to say some great summer energy and just pretty much charm that this should work for like a lot of hot weather kind of energy. I'd have to say just some good localized type traverse.